Welcome to this episode of Basketball Street Beat. I'm your host, John Behrens.
And I'm Joshua Perkins.
All right, so it is officially the Sweet 16.
I'm going to go by what one of the commentators said for LSU versus Maryland. March equals madness. And it has been madness. I'm just going to go ahead and go right into it. LSU was on to the Sweet 16 as they defeated Maryland 69-67 after a last-second layup by Tremont Waters. LSU will be taking on the Spartans of Michigan State, who just came off a dominant performance against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Unfortunately, Duke is still in the tournament. They were able to knock off UCF 77-76. I got to say, UCF took Duke to the limit. I've never seen Duke get taken to the limit like they got took by UCF. Great game by Zion Williamson, putting up a double-double. But he did kind of have a hard time with tackle fall. But what really changed the game around was in the last minutes of the game, tackle fall being fouled out. And I feel it played a significant part in UCF's final offensive drive to try and win. UCF had two chances on the final drive to defeat Duke. It just wasn't their time.
Yeah, my understanding is that they had a game winner just kind of rim out.
They had rimmed out twice. Two rim outs.
Oh, wow, two. Well then, alrighty.
So Duke will be taking on conference foe Virginia Tech, who has defeated them before, but the last time they faced off, Zion Williamson was hurt. So this could be a different outcome.
And if I'm correct, the only double-digit seed left in the tournament is Oregon.
The Oregon Ducks at a 12 seed, they've defied quite a few odds to get to the tournament. But actually, the teams that defied the odds was LSU. I mean, they're doing it without their head coach. I mean, how far can Coach Benford take them? I mean, to be honest, I want LSU to win. I want the best for the Tigers basketball team. But at the same time, I have to be realist. I don't see Coach Benford hanging with Tom Izzo. But at the same time, it's March Madness. Anything can happen.
Yeah. But, just watching the Tigers play, the way they played all season is that they had a tendency to come out of the gate, do really well. Sometimes they'll get out to a big lead and just completely lose it. Let the other team catch up and then somehow pull it off in the stretch.
Like, I guess, they were up 16 at half, and then Yale put together a huge second half run and almost beat the Tigers. LSU was up at, I want to say, 15, 16 at one point against Maryland, and Maryland came storming back.
Maryland even took the lead by a few points a few times.
Now, against Michigan State, if LSU gets out to a big lead and Michigan State's come back, they're not going to catch up with Michigan State. If the Spartans turn this game into a track meet, it's over.
Right. Let's see. Who else is out there? I mean, there's Purdue, but Purdue had a really good season. And, Auburn. But
Auburn going against North Carolina. If I'm Roy Williams and the Tar Heels, I would be very careful in going against Auburn.
I gotta say this. Auburn did kind of just dominate Kansas there.
I don't know about kind of dominate. That's a little bit of an understatement. Auburn was up on Kansas by 26 at halftime. Yes, I'm gonna say it again. The Auburn Tigers were beating the Kansas Jayhawks. Yes, the Kansas Jayhawks by 26 points at halftime. It was 51-25 at the half.
Yeah.
But a good game I'm looking at would be Tennessee and Purdue. That's a good game I'm looking at. Purdue has been playing pretty well throughout the tournament. Tennessee has been playing pretty well. Tennessee got into a couple close games. They got into a close one with Colgate when they won 77-70. And in Tennessee's last game, they who did they play in that last game? They went up against Iowa, and Iowa took them to overtime.
Yeah. The other team that I'm kind of looking at, of course, is Gonzaga, because we reached the Sweet 16, which is the area of the tournament where they're the Bulldogs? Yeah. The Bulldogs typically start to trip up somewhere in the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8.
Well, that's Gonzaga's reputation. Gonzaga came into this tournament with a huge chip on their shoulder. They're used to choking in the tournament when the lights get a little bright. They're going against a Florida State team that's pretty scrappy. a Florida State team that was able to dominate a Murray State team led by John Morant. So I'm interested to see how that game goes. Another one would be Texas Tech and Michigan. I feel that, the winner of that game, this can be like a game to determine who probably goes to the national championship because both teams are very dominant. Texas Tech, they amazing shooters. Michigan, aggressive team out of the Big Ten, so it's going to be a pretty good game. Houston and Kentucky is a game I'm looking at as well. Houston, out of the American Conference, they did pretty well all season. They only lost like 3 or 4 games all year, going against a pretty tough Kentucky team.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see Houston make it this far. I'm not used to teams like Houston getting this far.
I'm actually not, because Houston has progressed over the past few years, and seeing Houston play throughout the season, I figured that they will get to this point. Being seeded so high and then having a chip on their shoulder, coming from a smaller conference, and just defying some odds.
Mm-hmm. I'll be honest. I'll be a little bit surprised if Texas Tech and Houston get to the Elite Eight. Just Auburn as well. Just programs that don't traditionally get that far.
Well, Bruce Pearl is the head coach of Auburn, so what you expect? Look at what he did while he was at Tennessee for a while. Tennessee used to be the most dominant team in the nation. Now that mantle is with Rick Barnes.
All right. So, do you see any of the number 1 seeds losing this weekend? Or this week?
I say the number 1 seed that I see most likely losing, it'll have to be a toss-up between Gonzaga and Virginia. Oregon has showed a lot of poise throughout this tournament. They show that they can hang with the big dogs. They've shown that they can play when the lights get bright and that they can bring the madness in March. With Virginia, tough team at the ACC, but Virginia is a team that has been known to not last long in the tournament. As you've seen last season, they got upset by 20 against UMBC last season. And I know for all my Virginia listeners who are Cavalier fans, I know that y'all didn't want me bringing that up. Deal with it. I'm bringing it up. Yeah. UMBC by 20. Why in the world y'all lose to a team whose mascots are the Retrievers? Why? By 20, a 16 seed. Really?
Okay. Let's just say Duke gets past Virginia Tech. Duke versus LSU.
Coach Benford's gonna have a lot of. He's gonna have a long night with Coach K.
Duke versus Michigan State.
That's a heavyweight showdown. That's gonna be probably one of the games of the year. Duke and Michigan State going at it. You got Coach K versus Coach Izzo. Classic matchup.
All right. Virginia Tech versus LSU.
I see it being a good game. A game that's gonna go down to the wire. Both teams, though they showed a lot, though they both show a lot of poise, though they both had good seasons. These are two teams that have their areas of struggle, and it's basically go down to which team is strongest at their weakest link.
Okay, Virginia Tech versus Michigan State.
Michigan State. Virginia Tech is going to put up a fight for a while, but I see Michigan State pulling away throughout the second half.
All right, Virginia versus Purdue.
I would take Purdue. Purdue has shown dominance. The way they handled Villanova was just absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, defending champs. That was a pretty convincing win.
And in Villanova, they took quite a few steps back this season.
They did, significantly so. They even fell out of the top 25 at one point, I want to say.
Yeah, they did.
That was after losing.
They lost to Furman.
Yeah.
Furman. I believe it was Furman. Yeah, it was Furman. Furman was undefeated for a while. They were in the top 25, and then it was after they lost to LSU where things just kind of went downhill for the Paladins.
Mm-hmm. Virginia versus Tennessee.
I would take Tennessee in that matchup. I don't see Virginia really stopping Admiral Schofield and Grant Williams.
So let's say the Oregon Ducks upset the is it Cavaliers?
Yeah.
Yeah, Cavaliers. Oregon versus Purdue.
I would take Purdue in the matchup. I would say if Oregon meets Purdue, the clock would strike 12 on the Ducks. I mean, Purdue, like I said, Purdue is dominant. I mean, Purdue, this is a team that could probably win it all.
And I assume you also would pick Tennessee over Oregon.
Yes, I would pick Tennessee over Oregon. Like I said, if the Ducks make it to the Elite Eight, clock will strike 12 then.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. UNC versus Houston.
That's a tough one, and I feel it's going to be a game that's going to go down to the wire. I feel like we're going to have like another UCF versus Duke part 2 when it comes to Houston and North Carolina. I mean, the American versus the ACC. But I would pick North Carolina.
North Carolina versus Kentucky.
I would take that's actually a tough one. That's a tough one. I would actually take I'll take North Carolina over Kentucky.
Auburn pulls the upset, faces Houston.
I'll take Auburn in that one.
Yeah, I have to agree with that.
Auburn's backcourt is they've been lighting up throughout the whole tournament. They torched Kansas.
All right, SEC showdown: Tigers versus Wildcats.
I give it to Auburn. I take Auburn over Kentucky.
Okay.
Unless you can stop the Auburn backcourt, you're not going to beat them. You're not.
Yeah. All right. Bulldogs win over the Seminoles, and they take on the Red Raiders.
Honestly, in that game, I will probably take Gonzaga in that game. I'll take the Zags, and then the Zags will go to the Final Four. Now, if the Zags went up against Michigan, I would take the Michigan Wolverines.
Okay.
I mean, Michigan, they're tough, they're physical, they're aggressive. I don't see the Zags really, being able to tangle with them.
Okay. So, Florida State tops Gonzaga and takes on Texas Tech.
I would take Texas Tech in that game. I'll take Texas Tech. See, honestly, they talking about, oh, you're going to do your bracket? Nah, because as soon as I do my bracket, next thing you know, late in day one, my bracket's busted. Because a lot of these higher seeds don't know how to handle business in their first round. Mississippi State, Kansas State, who lost to UC Irvine. Kansas State was a team I was hoping I would make a run.
Yeah, kind of a flop for a team that kept Kansas from winning the Big 12 for the first time in 15 years.
And how in the world you beat Kansas for the Big 12, but that you let them make it further than you in the tournament? Kansas is another team that actually took quite a few steps back, and it really showed when they took on Auburn.
Yeah. And I think the last matchup, Michigan versus Florida State.
Michigan all day against Florida State. I'll take Michigan.
All right. Who do you see has the best chance to go all the way, other than Duke?
Best chances, I would say, a team that has like the best chances, I would say Purdue. In the order that I'll say 3 teams: Purdue, Michigan, and I'm going to go ahead and say Auburn. Purdue, Michigan, Auburn.
All right.
Like I said, I want LSU to beat Michigan State, but I don't have a whole lot of faith in Coach Benford's ability to outcoach Tom Izzo. And I mean, LSU with LSU being such a young team, and they still have a lot of holes in their game. I mean, you look at, and like you said earlier, they come out the gate running, and it's like these guys are sprinting early in the game. Like, I mean, a college basketball game, any basketball game, it's a marathon. You got to be able to pace yourself. I understand you want to get the upper hand, you want to keep your foot in the next, but I mean, once they get a hold of your game plan and once they get a hold of what you're doing, and they're going to change things up. Michigan State, I mean, I don't see LSU really hanging with Michigan State, but at the same time, it's March Madness. Anything can happen.
All right. So the next round starts on Thursday?
Either Thursday or I know LSU plays Friday.
Well, yeah, I think, let's see, what were officially the dates on that? The Sweet 16 is March 29th. March 29th.
Wait, yeah, they do start Thursday because Virginia and Oregon, they play Thursday.
Here we go, 28th and 29th, and then the Elite Eight is March 30th and 31st, with the Final Four being April 6th and the championship April 8th. All right, so we're closing in on the end of college basketball season, so I guess we will transition into the NBA after this. Okay, and we're back to Basketball Street Beat, where we will now talk professional athletes.
Yeah, where we always talk about more controversy than the games.
Well, I think the controversy has kind of died down or mostly stayed the same.
True. Also, while we're on the NBA, I just want to send a huge welcome back to Jimmer Fredette, the lethal outlaw sharpshooter from BYU. He just got picked up by the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix, they had a battle with the Utah Jazz. It wasn't a battle because Utah Jazz blew them out 129-92 despite Devin Booker scoring 59 points. That's just sad. How in the world a team scores 92 and then one of them scores 59 at 92? That means the rest of the team scored 33 combined. That's a shame. And then the Suns are the worst team in the West. Like, come on, y'all. Like, really? And I don't know why Devin Booker signed that extension with the Suns if he really wants to win. But then again, he must just be playing for the love of the game. Because you see a lot of these key players leaving their franchises to go win. Like LeBron James. He left Cleveland to go to Miami. Then he left Miami, go back home to Cleveland to bring them a title. Then he just left Cleveland. Now he's in L.A. Now he's not even in the playoffs because they just got eliminated from playoff contention. And now in the West, there's only one more team that has a shot at making the playoffs, and that is the Sacramento Kings. They're not going to make the playoffs because why? They're about 6.5 games back from 8th place from Oklahoma City Thunder. You think they're going to lose 6.5, 7 games in a row? No, not happening. I don't know why Sacramento is still mathematically in the playoff hunt.
Because they're still mathematically in the playoff hunt.
Okay, smart mouth. Y'all get what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, of course we get what you're saying, but still, I mean, they're still mathematically in.
And I'm looking at these seedings. I'm like, these are going to be some fun playoffs. I'm definitely looking forward to Portland versus Utah. That's going to be pretty fun.
So, to me, like one of the most impressive turnarounds of the season is the Utah Jazz. I mean, to start the season, they were losing games by 40 or 50 points.
I do remember that, yes. But, I mean, you look at the players they got: Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, Ricky Rubio, Joe Ingles. He is one of the unsung heroes of that team. Joe Ingles, who can torch you from three-point land. The Rockets, they, throughout the season, they looked like they were struggling a little bit as if they took a few steps back from last season, which they did. But it seems that the Rockets have put it together, going into the end of the season. They are a 3rd seed, and they're 3 games behind the Denver Nuggets for 2nd place. Denver and Golden State, they've pretty much been neck and neck for 1st place, though, pretty much ever since the All-Star break. But Denver will have to be careful because they got to go against Coach Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs in the 1st round if the seedings hold up. The first 4 teams clinch playoff berth, so from 5 to 9, anything can happen, but I mean, you look at it, there's 8 games left. Sacramento 6.5 games back. It's going to take a miracle for Sacramento to sneak into 8th place.
Yeah. Also, I'm a bit surprised to sit here and see the Rockets sitting there at the number 3 seed currently, despite their struggles over the season.
It just goes to show, I mean, how they came together as a team. CP3 came back from injury. James Harden has stayed consistent. And so this Rockets team is looking pretty good.
Yeah. And OKC has dropped all the way down to number 8 seed despite sitting at, I want to say, at number 3 at one point.
And they were. I mean, I don't know what happened to them. I mean, you got Paul George and you got Russell Westbrook and Steven Adams.
So as things sit right now, you're going to have a Thunder Warriors showdown in the 1st round.
And that's where the Warriors might want to be careful. The Warriors got a starting lineup full of all-stars. I mean, the Thunder can play.
Yeah.
The Thunder can get after you.
So the Eastern Division is also pretty much set. Technically,
not really. I mean, you look at it.
Orlando and Charlotte still have hope.
Yes. Washington, mathematically they still have hope, but I mean they're 6.5 games back from 8th place, And how many games? What, 8, 9 games left? I don't see Washington making that push. Like Orlando, who has made a huge turnaround, they still have hope. Charlotte is 2 games back. But for Orlando and Charlotte, they got to play their best basketball from here on out until the playoffs. And then they can take their whooping from the Bucks in the first round. But as I digress from that, you know what? While I'm on the top seeds, let's talk about Milwaukee and how well they've done this season. All I got to say is, Mary Mother of God, Giannis is just unfair. Giannis is a human cheat code. Look at the Raptors. Good golly.
Yeah, I mean, Milwaukee's pretty much been dominant all season long, and they're in position right now to not only clinch home field throughout the playoffs, but possibly the entire postseason as well.
Sorry. I had a long day at work yesterday. But Milwaukee, this is a team that it just seems that with every game, and it just seems that I'm starting to believe in them a lot more as a team that can represent the East. At first, I wasn't too big on them representing the East just because, I mean, you know, they're not in the playoffs much, you know, and they've struggled over the years until they got Giannis Antetokounmpo, but they've progressed, and they pretty much trusted the process like Philadelphia is now. Look at Toronto. I mean, even without Dwayne Casey at head coach, Toronto is still answering. They still following their own protocol as a team out there on that court. With Philly, they're a 3 seed, but it seems that Philly has been kind of struggling a little bit, just a little. I don't see Philly representing the East. Now, next season, I can see Philly representing the East, depending on how the draft and how the offseason goes. Boston, look, I've said it once, I'm going to say it again. Boston needs to put their egos aside. The day they put their egos aside is the day they'll become the most dangerous team in the East. But until then, they're going to be sticking to their mediocre 5th seed, and they'll probably get eliminated by Indiana. The only thing that will probably save Boston is the fact that the Indiana Pacers don't have Victor Oladipo. A big turnaround, and I'm going to talk about this, about the Brooklyn Nets. They were actually a team that eliminated the Los Angeles Lakers. And you want to know who the player of that game was? The very player Magic Johnson released in order to make room for Lonzo Ball to come in. D'Angelo Russell. Yes, D-Lo. I would not pick that nickname, D'Angelo. Just saying. D-Lo, you might want to rethink nicknames. But at the same, all right, I digress from that. But D'Angelo Russell, I mean, we all saw his potential when he first came to LA. Yeah, he had that incident to where he snitched on Swaggy P. For those who may not know who Swaggy P is, that's Nick Young, who has one of the most animated personalities in the league. I don't know what he's doing now, but at one point Swaggy P was dating Iggy Azalea, and it seemed that D'Angelo Russell snitched on him for cheating. I don't know the whole situation. That's not my business. I'm just a broadcaster / analyst. But I know that had to feel good for D'Angelo Russell to eliminate the very team that gave up on him, the very team that released him out of the playoffs. Because, I mean, D'Angelo Russell was released to, make room for Lonzo Ball to come in, since LeVar was just so hard after Magic Johnson to sign Lonzo and to draft him. And, I mean, I haven't seen a whole lot from Lonzo as of late. And also Lonzo's out for the rest of the season with an injury. And it's just a whole mess out there in LA. But I know it had to feel good for D'Angelo Russell, his team in playoff position, and eliminating the very team that released him out of playoff contention. So, big ups to D'Angelo Russell.
All right. So, seasons are winding down for both college and professional. And, well, so far it's been a rather... While the upsets haven't necessarily been there, it's been a pretty exciting March Madness, and it looks like the playoffs are going to be filled with some pretty tough teams.
They are. I mean, we might see some upsets in the playoffs. We might see quite a couple upsets. A matchup I'm looking at is the Nuggets versus the Spurs. Also, keep your eye on the Warriors and Thunder. Keep your eyes on that series. But I feel that a lot of these series are going to go 6 to 7 games.
So,
easy.
What about Portland? Okay, they're the number 4 seed again.
But Portland, I would say, I could see Portland making a run in the playoffs, but their chances pretty much got killed last night. Yusuf Nurkic went down with a gruesome. He broke his leg last night against the Nets. Once he went down, the players, they gathered around him, and once they saw his leg, they took off. So not having that big man in the middle, because Yusuf Nurkic has been, a significant contributor for the Trailblazers this season. He has been one of their hallmarks in the paint. And for him to go down, I mean, he's going to be done for the rest of the season. He's done. Mm-hmm. He has a compound leg fracture, so of course he's done. With Portland not having that big man presence, that's going to leave room for Utah to dominate.
So you see, last year, the Trailblazers were swept by the Pelicans. So they just lost one of their key players, and you think deja vu?
Possibly. I mean, you're going against a very tough Jazz team who has found their stride after the All-Star break. So this Jazz team looks very poised, and I don't like the Trailblazers' chances of getting past Utah. I'd say if Portland, they're a 4th seed, they just have to finish the season out strong for these last 8 to 9 games so they can keep a high seed, because they're going to need those first 2 home games. They're going to need it, especially if they have to go against Utah. They're going to need those first 2 home games. That's where they have to make their money.
Right. Okay. Any more deja vus?
Any more deja vus?
I mean, other than Golden State winning it all?
Yeah, I was actually going to say that. Any more deja vus? I would probably say Houston making a run and then running into the buzzsaw known as Golden State. But then again, Houston has had Golden State's number this season. Golden State only knocked off Houston once. So, maybe not. Now, as far as looking towards the future, some teams to look out for, I would say one of them is the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young has been absolutely masterful for the Hawks this season. And honestly, I wasn't big on Trae Young going to the NBA draft last season. Yeah, he showed a lot of flashes of potential when he was at Oklahoma last year. He was probably the best shooter starting out in the nation. And then towards the end of the season, later on in the season, we saw a lot of holes in Trae Young's game. A lot of holes in it. And I mean, when I look at Trae Young's game, I'm like, there's a whole lot to, there's a lot of room for improvement for him. But he settled in pretty nice. I mean, he started out struggling when he got to the league, but he settled into the city. He settled in with the franchise. And now he's a lot more comfortable being that floor general for the Hawks. They're very young, but if you give them a couple of seasons, this can be a playoff team.
Yeah. All right. Well, I look forward to the playoffs and the conclusion of March Madness. But that about wraps up this episode of Basketball Street Beat. A little bit of a short one, but oh well. Find us out on our website, aisportsnetwork.com. We're also on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook.
And so y'all better check us out. If not, I'm going to find you. Just playing. We love y'all.
This has been an AI Sports Network production. Signing out.
Love you.